Now, I've been a Magic the Gathering player ever since 2011 when I first got into it during my senior year of high school. I love the art, the characters, the gameplay, all of it's just a blast every single time I play it. But there's actually one game that I've played for just as long as I've played Magic, and that's League of Legends. I love the characters in League of Legends. I remember tuning in every week for the Journal of Justice or diving into all of the short stories about how the champions actually joined the league. I'm a total lore nerd. And despite all the changes that the game has gone through since I first started playing, the characters typically remain the same. There's just these themes and character traits that each of these legends has that draws me to them. So you can imagine just how happy I was when I heard about Riftbound, the brand new trading card game from Riot Games, based entirely on the League of Legends universe. No, this is not just Legends of Runeterra but on paper. No. This is a full-on TCG that's meant to have something for all players, from the competitive all the way to the casual like me. So what is Riftbound? Riftbound is basically a league match, but instead of reaching the enemy nexus, it's a race between 2 or more players to be the first person to reach 8 points. It's not the first one to deal 20 damage or the first one to combo off or mill someone out or anything like that. No, you capture and hold battlefields until you reach 8 points. That's it. This means that the game is very creature or unit focused. There's still items and spells, but at the end of the day, it's all about how you can use both your units and your legends abilities to outplay your opponents. And speaking of legends, let's take a look at the first thing we need to choose when deck building in Riftbound. Now, we want to pick our legend. There are 16 legends to choose from in the first set, all iconic characters that we know and, well, possibly hate from League of Legends. Each legend has 2 colors, or domains, attached to it, a name and a passive ability. Just like in Commander, your deck can only have cards that have the same domains as your legend. So while Volibear has access to Fury and Body domains, Victor is firmly within Order and Mind, which, tracks. The passive ability is largely what you're going to be building your deck around. Your legend's ability is always available to you. So think of it like Eminence or Alluro, but way more fun and not at all a mistake. Lux will always draw you a card when you cast a spell that costs 5 or more, while you can always pay 1 and tap or exhaust Lee Sin to buff a friendly unit. Lastly, there's the actual name of the legend, but that matters more for this next part, the champion unit. The champion unit is your legend's physical manifestation on the battlefield, and this is where Riftbound gets to show off a lot of its unique features. In the base set, each legend has 2 champion units, which have one of your legend's domains. They both have different abilities which tie into the general vibe of the deck, but add a lot more focus to it. Lee Sin the Legend lets you buff a creature in general, but Lee Sin Acolyte pushes you to build tall since you can buff him as many times as you want, whereas Lee Sin Centered incentivizes you to go wide as he adds power, or might, to other buffed creatures. Both want to go in the same deck, but only one can sit in your command zone, or champion unit slot, and the other can, and probably should, go into your deck, which is what we're going to dive into deeper next. Your deck, which is 40 cards, including your legend and champion unit, is limited by your domains and a maximum of 3 copies of any card. So yes, this means you can, and should, run 2 more copies of your champion unit as well. While there's a diverse mix of card types in Riftbound, it's not too many as to feel overwhelmed at having to learn a whole new card system. Each of them are very easy to understand while leaving room for tons of depth. Units are basically the other characters on your team. Solari's Shieldbreaker, Captain Feria, Daring Poro, and Watchful Sentry are all beings who live on the world of Runeterra. Beings that give it life beyond the legends of the game, so it makes sense to have these as your frontline troops. But the legends from the game are why we love it, and you can play with them here too. Have Kaisa Evolutionary be the AD carry for your Lux deck, as she can recast spells from your trash. Garen Commander and Darius Executioner both have a home in any go-wide deck, so Victor's little guys end up huge. Build the ultimate discard deck with Jinx, Vi, and Annie, who somehow work together to burn it all down. As long as they're in the same domain, you can make the ultimate team comp out of anyone. Gear are just like artifacts in Magic. Once you play them, they have a passive or activated ability that either leads to your deck's power spike or helps you pay costs. Spells round out the rest of your deck, and that's where a lot of surprises and the most epic outplays will come from. From removal spells, draw spells, counter spells, and even board wipes. We're all used to the concept of what spells do in TCGs, and Riftbound is no less complex than others. But just like how abilities in League can't deal damage to structures, running only spells won't be enough for you to win the game. You need to have units that can both take and hold battlefields and earn points for you, or else you just simply won't win. So spells that protect your own units are just as important as kill spells on theirs. Now, speaking of spells, we have one more bit of truly unique game pieces that make Riftbound its own game, while also feeling a little bit more like League. Let me introduce you to signature spells, the ultimate expression of your legend. From Lux's Final Spark to Miss Fortune's Bullet Time, these are absolute game changers that can only be run with your specific legend, and you get to run 3 copies of them. Now, you might have noticed that I didn't mention any lands or resources of any kind, so how do we actually pay the cost for these things? Well, Riftbound has a new spin on resource management. Runes have their very own 12-card mini deck, from which you take the top 2 cards from it and put them into play at the start of your turn. Now, this may sound like a lot of resources. I mean, imagine being at 6 mana by turn 3 every single game of Magic. Well, Riftbound also makes you recycle runes when you cast certain spells. So, if you want to cast Ari, you'll need to pay 5 and then take a green rune from your field and put it to the bottom of your rune deck, while Anivia costs a whopping 7 and 2 orange. A huge cost, but honestly, Anivia is worth it. 3 damage to each creature on the battlefield is no joke. Now, we're finally on to the part where we talk about winning the game. As I said before, you win by conquering and holding battlefields, which are cards that you also get to choose with your deck. Battlefields are colorless cards, meaning they can go with any legend that you choose. They're not tied by lore or anything like that. They all have passive traits that are active for anyone who is present on that battlefield. Some battlefields have abilities that are better for some champions over others, but keep in mind that anyone has the chance to use them over the course of a game. Sure, Lee Sin might like Novori Fighting Pits being about buffs and all, but if your enemy is set, you'll have to weigh the possibility of giving him free buffs to use on his own abilities if he ever takes over your battlefield, which will probably happen at least once throughout the course of the game. You can almost guarantee that every Teemo deck will come with a Bandle Tree, and that they're going to lay a bunch of traps for any enemies who want to attack it. But they're going to have to switch into offensive mode if Garen rolls up with the Grand Plaza. Depending on the format that you end up playing, you're going to see a different amount of battlegrounds per player, but at the end of the day, that's all you're fighting over. Even in the multiplayer formats, you're all fighting just to get to 8. And once someone does, the game ends there. No feel-bads about being knocked out early or feeling some sort of way about being milled out. You just simply get to 8 and you're good to go. And I think that right there is one of the most important things about Riftbound. This is a game where I get to build a deck around the characters that I love, and go head to head with decks based around who other people love. And we clash to see who can win. I love Leona more than any other character in League of Legends, and now I get to build a deck that's based entirely around her. Just like how in the game, she's a support character that's all about CCing your opponent, I can run a deck that focuses on stunning enemy units so that they can't deal combat damage. And then I get to send in my damage dealers like Set and Lee Sin to clean house all over the battlefield. Now, I can't wait to start deck building and theory crafting, making the ultimate Demacian army ready to take the fight to Noxus. But first, let's go over how combat works, because that's like the entire game. You see the number at the top of Shen right here? That represents both his power and his toughness, which Riftbound refers to as his might. Might is how units deal damage to each other, as well as determine who survives and dies in combat, aka showdowns. A showdown is initiated when a player moves their units onto a battlefield they don't control, be it to move onto a battlefield that's open or to attack one and take it off of your opponent's hands. While the showdown is happening, you'll be able to cast spells that have the action or reaction abilities on them, meaning they can be cast during any showdowns. This would be the perfect time for sudden buff spells or kill spells in order to completely throw off the math for your opponent, or prevent them from throwing off your math with a well-timed counterspell. Being able to stun a Warwick that would have absolutely wiped out my troops, only for him to deal no combat damage at all, is gonna feel oh so good in my Leona deck. In order for a unit to move to a battlefield and begin a fight, they have to move from somewhere. So let's talk about how we get our units to move around. Moving is the final hugely important aspect of the game to remember, so be sure to listen up. When a unit enters play, it starts in your base, and instead of having summoning sickness, they simply start as exhausted. Exhausted creatures cannot move from the base, or of course use any abilities that require them to exhaust. However, if they were moved by an external force like Yasuo Legend's card ability, then they can still engage in combat just fine. The accelerated ability is comparable to haste, which allows your unit to come into play untapped and ready, meaning Misfortune Captain or Lee Sin Centered are well worth their costs getting into fights before your opponent is ready for them. But say you want to move from one battlefield to another, well, usually you have to go back to the base of the unit, exhaust it, then move to the new battlefield afterward, further exhausting it. Well, taking a page directly from League of Legends, the ganking mechanic lets you move directly from one battlefield to another, walking directly down river to, well, gank the laners. An ability that the Misfortune Legend card is happy to dole out to any unit you choose. So let's go over what we've learned so far. Riftbound is a multi-format game where the goal is to be the first person to reach 8 points. To build a deck, you start by picking your favorite legend, be it Jinx, Victor, Annie, etc. Then choose which one of your champion units you want to start out with. After that, pick 38 more cards for a minimum of 40. Choose from spells, units, gear, and don't forget your signature spell, all of which you can have up to 3 copies of. Then get 12 runes together to put into your rune deck, and then finish up with your choice of 3 battlefields. To play a game, you choose one of your battlefields, as does your opponent, roll to see who goes first, shuffle up, and begin. Turns are done in A, B, C, D style order. Awaken, untap, beginning, upkeep, channel, play runes, and draw. After that, you're free to take any actions you want during your turn. There's no further steps or phases, just casting spells, showdowns, and the end of turn. You gain points when you move onto and conquer a battlefield, or when you hold one, which the game checks during the beginning step. Once you reach 8, boom, the game ends and you walk away the victor. And there we have it, a decent primer from a longtime Magic player who honestly can't wait to play a brand new TCG that lets me bring the characters I love to life. When I can't pick my favorite character on the Rift, I know I can crack out my Riftbound deck and win with my favorite champions. While the 1v1 mode will be the most competitive, I personally can't wait for the 4-person free-for-all, which has 4 players each trying to get to 4 points, meaning all the wacky politics and spell stacks and commander games will absolutely be present in Riftbound from the start. There's even a 2v2 teams mode, which might actually be where Leona shines the brightest, as she should. The fact that this game can hold so many different formats within it and not have to radically change its rules or card text to fit them shows that Riot is thinking ahead and giving careful consideration to each and every card. Just like how League can have well over 100 champions in it and still somehow find balance, Riftbound is shaping up to be a game to stand the test of time. The game releases on October 31st in English and has already released in the East, meaning we can actually get a glimpse of how the meta is going to shape up before we actually get our hands on anything, which is pretty exciting. You can pre-order Riftbound in just about any place where TCGs are sold, including this channel's sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com. Be sure to use code Kuro for 5% off, and travel over to riftbound.gg to take a look at every single card that's coming out for the initial sets, Origins, and Proving Grounds. I'm Kurohitsuki, and this has been my official first look at Riftbound. Be sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below telling me who you want to build a deck around. I know I love my tank women, so I hope that Rel comes out ASAP. Oh wait, no, Sejuani would be sick, and I know Aurelia has already been announced for set 2. I wonder if Tom Kenchel will just straight up eat units off the battlefield. Ooh. Oh god, Mel is gonna be so annoying to play against. But I am a Malzahar main, so that means he'll probably be my favorite.